All right, get ready, everyone, because today we are taking a deep dive into the ISFJ personality.
ISFJ. Yep.
Introverted, sensing, feeling, judging, you know them?
Uh-huh.
The defender, or maybe the protector. Have you heard of those nicknames?
Yeah, the defender.
You might
That's
think.
protector, yeah.
Okay, so you might think, oh, the defender, the protector, those are rare, right?
Yeah, that's what I would think.
You could think that
That they're rare. One of the most common personality types.
they're not rare at all.
Not rare at all.
In fact, very common.
Yeah, super common. What does that tell us?
Like almost 14% of the population, which means
14%, so 1 in 7 people.
chances are, yeah, at least a few.
Yeah, you probably know a few.
ISFJs.
And you don't even know it.
Yeah, maybe you don't even realize it.
Okay, so we got a bunch of really interesting sources today.
Cool.
That break down, what makes these defenders tick.
Yeah.
We're going to look at their core traits.
Okay.
We're going to look at their strengths, their weaknesses.
How they approach relationships, careers.
All that stuff.
Maybe even some surprising facts about ISFJs that'll make you raise an eyebrow.
Some things you wouldn't expect.
So if you notice this, that ISFJs kind of fly under the radar.
That's interesting.
They're not the loudest people in the room,
No, they're not the loudest voice.
but they have such a big impact
They're not looking for attention,
on the people around them.
but they have a huge impact on the people around them, yeah.
Okay, so who are they? What makes them unique?
Good question.
I kept seeing this over and over again.
All right.
Their attention to detail.
Detail-oriented.
And it's not just that they notice things.
Right.
They remember the smallest details
They're very observant.
about people, situations. It's kind of amazing.
Yeah, very observant.
Like a mental filing cabinet.
Yeah, it makes sense when you think about their dominant cognitive function.
Okay, let's talk about that. Introverted sensing.
Introverted sensing.
What does that even mean?
Yeah, it sounds very technical.
Yeah, it sounds very jargony, I know.
But it's actually pretty simple.
What?
Imagine like a super detailed mental scrapbook of all your experiences.
I like that.
Sights, smells, sounds, everything. That's kind of what introverted sensing is like.
They're taking it all in.
They're grounded in that concrete reality of what they can see, touch, hear.
So not the type to get lost in daydreams then.
Not really, no. Much more focused on the tangible, the practical.
That's so interesting.
And that preference for the concrete, it explains why they thrive in structure and consistency.
Because they don't like when things change.
Right. They like having a clear plan, knowing what to expect, sticking to routines.
One source said that ISFJs are the most likely type to be stressed out
Oh, wow.
by last-minute changes.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Think about that.
That's interesting.
How much do you get thrown off?
How do you react to that?
If something changes at the last minute,
Yeah.
it shows how these little personality quirks actually have a real impact
Yeah, absolutely.
on how
Yeah.
we live our lives.
Big impact.
Okay, so we got to talk about the F in ISFJ.
Feeling.
These people are deeply compassionate,
They are.
driven by this desire to care for others
So you want to make sure everyone's okay.
and to maintain harmony,
Mm-hmm.
warm, kind, supportive. These are the words that come up over and over.
Yeah, that sounds right.
And that comes from their auxiliary function. Right?
Yeah, extroverted feeling.
Okay, so extroverted feeling, break that down for me.
So it means they're not just empathetic, they actually make decisions
Based on that.
based on what will create the most harmony. Yeah,
So it's not just how they feel.
Right.
It's how they act.
it's how they make decisions, yeah.
That's interesting.
Sometimes, even to the detriment of their own needs.
You know, that's kind of a double-edged sword.
Yeah, it can be.
So it's a beautiful thing to be so attuned to other people.
Uh-huh.
But you can run into some problems
Yeah.
if you're not careful.
You got to set boundaries.
Yeah, and a lot of sources highlighted that.
They can struggle with that.
ISFJs can really struggle with that.
Setting boundaries.
Saying no.
Prioritizing their own needs.
Prioritizing their own needs.
Yeah.
And I thought this was fascinating.
Okay.
One source even suggested there's a link
A link between.
between this tendency to repress emotions
Okay.
and a higher likelihood of chronic pain.
Interesting. That's fascinating.
A fascinating thought, right?
Yeah.
Like how our mental and emotional state
Uh-huh.
can have an impact on our physical well-being.
Yeah, the mind-body connection.
Yeah, that's powerful stuff.
It is. It is.
Okay, so we've got detail-oriented,
Okay.
structure, compassion,
Uh-huh.
but there's another big piece to the ISFJ puzzle, right?
What's that?
Their sense of duty.
Their sense of duty. Yeah, that's big.
They do not shy away from responsibility.
No, they don't.
They are known for their loyalty, their reliability,
Very reliable.
their dedication.
Uh-huh.
That's where that defender,
Or protector.
protector nickname comes in.
Makes sense.
Maybe not the most outspoken,
Right.
or assertive, but they are fiercely protective
They'll stand up for what they believe in.
of those that they love,
Yeah.
and they will go that extra mile
They're always there to help.
to make sure everyone is safe and taken care of.
It's not always about the grand gestures, though.
It's the little things.
Yeah, it's the everyday stuff.
Okay, I love that. The everyday acts of service.
Remembering birthdays, offering to help, being the person people can rely on.
So they're introverted.
Introverted, yeah.
That doesn't mean they're hermits.
Right, it doesn't mean they're antisocial.
Right, they're not antisocial.
No, they're not.
They value close relationships.
They do.
They cherish their close-knit circle, but they need that time alone.
They need time to recharge.
To recharge.
Yeah, it's more about quality over quantity.
So how does that play out in relationships?
Well, one thing Personality NFT highlighted is that,
Personality NFT, that's a good source.
yeah, good source, and they said that ISFJs often connect best
With
people who are also sensory-oriented.
so people who are kind of like them.
Yeah, shared values, shared ways of perceiving the world.
It just makes sense.
It does, it does.
All right, now this is a fascinating fact. I have to share this before we move on.
Okay, hit me.
ISFJs are overrepresented
Overrepresented.
among MBA students.
MBA students, really?
Yeah.
That's not what I would expect.
You wouldn't think that, right?
No, you wouldn't think so.
But here's the kicker.
Okay.
They also have some of the lowest incomes.
Wait, what?
Out of all the personality types.
How does that work?
I know. So what is happening there?
That is interesting.
Is it something about them? About their personality?
Maybe they're not as focused on
That's holding them back financially.
climbing the corporate ladder.
You would think that getting an MBA,
Yeah.
you're setting yourself up
You're setting yourself up.
for financial success.
Right.
But that's not what we're seeing.
That's not what the data shows.
It really makes you think.
It does.
So we've laid the groundwork. We've looked at some of the key traits. We've seen some paradoxes.
Some things that make you scratch your head.
Yeah. Now let's get into those cognitive functions.
Let's go deeper.
Really break down what makes an ISFJ tick.
All right. Sounds good.
There's some really cool insights to uncover here.
I'm excited.
Yeah, introverted sensing. We kind of touched on it, but break it down for me.
Okay, so picture this. You're walking down the street.
Okay.
You smell fresh baked bread.
Mm-hmm.
For an ISFJ, that smell might instantly trigger this vivid memory
Wow.
of baking with their grandmother as a child.
Interesting.
The warm kitchen, the feeling of the dough, their grandmother's laughter.
So they're not just remembering the smell.
Right.
They're remembering the whole experience.
Exactly. It's a full sensory experience from the past.
Oh, wow, that's powerful.
That's introverted sensing at work, drawing on all those past experiences.
To make sense of the present.
Exactly.
And it explains why they're so good at remembering details.
Yeah, absolutely. Think about the ISFJs, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Are they the ones who always remember birthdays?
Yes.
Your favorite food?
Oh, for sure.
That time you mentioned you were stressed about work.
My best friend's an ISFJ. And yeah, she remembers things I told her years ago.
It's that deep attentiveness, that genuine care for the people in their lives.
I love that.
Okay, so introverted sensing, it's about the concrete, the past, the present.
Okay, now extroverted feeling.
That's where the compassion, the people-pleasing comes in.
Yeah, everyone says ISFJs are so nice.
It's more than just being nice. It's about making decisions
Based.
on what creates harmony, what supports others.
So they're constantly thinking about the people around them.
Yes, they want to make sure everyone feels comfortable and cared for.
But that can be exhausting.
It can be, and that's where we get into the potential downsides.
Right, neglecting their own needs.
Exactly, and that's where their tertiary function comes in.
Introverted thinking.
Introverted thinking, the inner logician.
Okay, so this helps them balance things out.
Yes, it helps them step back, analyze situations objectively.
So it's not just about feelings.
Right, it's about finding that balance between heart and head.
Interesting. So how does this play out in real life?
Well, introverted thinking helps them set boundaries, say no.
Which we know they struggle with.
Yeah, and it helps them prioritize their own needs.
Makes sense. Anything else?
It also contributes to their love of structure and organization.
Right. They love a good system.
Exactly. Introverted thinking helps them create those systems, analyze information, solve problems logically.
So they're not just emotional, they're logical too.
Absolutely. It's about finding that balance.
Okay, now on to the inferior function. Extroverted intuition.
Ah, yes, the shadow function.
That sounds mysterious.
Can be. It represents our less developed side.
The stuff we might not even be aware of.
Exactly. And for ISFJs, extroverted intuition is all about possibilities.
Possibilities. But they're all about the here and now.
I know, right? It seems contradictory, but extroverted intuition is about those what-if scenarios.
The stuff they usually avoid.
Exactly. It's about making connections, seeing things from different perspectives.
So it's like their hidden creative side.
You could say that it's where their flashes of insight come from.
But it's their inferior function,
Yeah.
so it can be a struggle.
Right. It can be overwhelming, stressful even.
So how can they work with this function in a healthy way?
It's about finding a balance, creating space for those intuitive thoughts.
Without letting them take over.
Exactly. Maybe through journaling, brainstorming, quiet reflection.
One source mentioned ISFJs are more prone to chronic pain.
Interesting. I wonder if there's a connection to suppressing intuition.
Or emotions. Maybe bottling things up can manifest physically.
That's a fascinating thought. The mind-body connection is so powerful.
It really makes you think.
It does. It makes you realize there's so much more to explore.
Okay, I'm ready to move on. Let's talk about ISFJs in the real world.
Let's do it. Relationships, parenting, careers, the whole shebang.
Especially that MBA mystery. I'm dying to know what's going on there.
Okay, so relationships, right? We know ISFJs make very loyal and devoted partners.
Yeah, super loyal. But what else did we learn?
Stability and security.
Yeah, big ones.
They crave those deep, long-lasting bonds built on trust.
Not into casual flings, huh?
No, they're looking for something real, something meaningful.
Makes sense, considering how much they love routine and structure.
Right. If you thrive on predictability, you want a partner who brings that same stability.
Absolutely. And one source even said ISFJs connect best.
Connect best with?
With people who are also sensory-oriented.
Oh, interesting. So people who are kind of like them?
Yeah, those shared values, that shared way of seeing the world, just makes things easier.
Makes total sense. You're speaking the same language.
Now, we know they're deeply feeling people, but they don't always show it.
True. They can be a bit reserved with their emotions.
So how does that play out in a romantic relationship?
It can be tricky, especially if their partner needs more verbal affirmation, more outward expressions of love.
Right, like they might be showing love through actions, but their partner wants to hear those words.
Exactly. It's those different love languages. And this is where communication is key.
Communication is always key.
Always. Both partners need to understand each other's needs, right?
For sure. And Personality NFT pointed something I thought was interesting.
Okay, what's that?
That ISFJs can get so caught up in taking care of their partner that they forget about themselves.
Oh, yeah, that classic ISFJ tendency to put others first.
So how do they find that balance?
Well, we talked about introverted thinking, right? That can help them set boundaries.
Yeah, prioritize their own needs.
Exactly, because taking care of yourself is not selfish. It's essential for a healthy relationship.
All right, let's talk about ISFJ parents.
Oh, I bet they're great.
I have a feeling they're those super organized, always on top of things parents.
The ones everyone else envies, right?
Exactly. Always prepared. Everything runs like clockwork.
Well, one source said their parenting style is all about creating a caring environment.
That sounds lovely.
Right. Meeting both physical and emotional needs.
And remember how much they love structure and routine. I bet that translates to parenting too.
Absolutely. They thrive on creating that stable, predictable home environment.
So clear expectations, consistent routines.
Boundaries, all that good stuff.
But could that love of structure ever be too much?
That's a good question. Kids can be pretty chaotic.
Yeah, they're not known for their love of routine.
Right. So it's important for ISFJ parents to find that balance,
Between structure and freedom.
Exactly. Allowing their kids to explore, make mistakes, all that.
Because life is unpredictable, you got to be adaptable.
All right, ready to tackle that career mystery?
Yes, the MBA thing, overrepresented, yet low incomes, what's the deal?
Okay, so let's start with what careers attract ISFJs?
Healthcare, education, social work.
Administration, we see a pattern here.
They're all about helping others.
Exactly, serving others, making a difference, that's what motivates them.
Not money or power.
Right, it's about that intrinsic reward, that sense of purpose.
So how do we explain the low incomes then?
Well, those fields are traditionally lower paying.
That's true.
But it might also be about their personality.
Okay, how so?
Remember, they're risk-averse. Prioritize others' needs.
So maybe they're not as aggressive about negotiating salaries or pushing for promotions?
Could be. They might be content in a role they find fulfilling, even if it doesn't pay top dollar.
But then why the MBA? If they're not driven by money or status, why bother?
Good question. Maybe they see it as a way to enhance their skills, be even more effective.
Or maybe it's the challenge, the structure of the program that appeals to them.
Could be. Or maybe it's a way to push themselves out of their comfort zone,
Oh, I like that. Even routine-loving ISFJs can benefit from growth.
Absolutely, it's all about finding that balance.
This has been so fascinating learning about ISFJs.
They're pretty amazing, aren't they?
Quietly changing the world, one act of service at a time.
Exactly. So to all the ISFJs out there, embrace those strengths, keep on shining.
And to everyone else, remember, understanding personality types is about building empathy, celebrating our differences.
It's about using this knowledge to connect better, live better.
That's what this deep dive is all about.
Thanks for joining us. Until next time, keep exploring, stay curious.
And remember, you are awesome just the way you are.